umbrella. She's up, she's up. Whole nother level of shit you can't even understand.
What is good, my people? We are live back again with another episode of The Forecast Back. On this Tuesday, Allegiance to the Hotness Tuesday, as we do every single Tuesday, we always got to pay tribute to some of the hot music that has been put out. I get tired of hearing the same old thing on the radio, so, I just got to do it for me to keep, the spirit alive. And you can go to the forecast, check it all out, and go there to be a part of the conversation. And tonight, another terrible story. This shit comes one after another. Now, earlier I seen a story of unprecedented. I didn't even know this was possible. Where a black man went to trial, was charged with armed robbery, and he is found not guilty, but the judge still sentenced him until 2022 or something like that. He gonna be in jail after he was found not guilty. And before I speak on it, let's just listen to the story and see what happened.
Is it a case of justice served or justice denied?
In school, we're all taught that a person is innocent until proven guilty. But investigator Rebecca Lindstrom shows us that in Georgia, that burden of proof isn't the same for everyone.
The Lucky Lotto on Shorter Avenue in Rome is now closed. It's surrounded by weeds, almost frozen in time. No one ever won big here, but lives were certainly changed.
And I would not like to trade places with her.
On July 9, 2014, a convenience store clerk stood terrified as a robber held a gun to her head. The store surveillance video is grainy, almost useless. Police say the store was so dirty they couldn't take fingerprints. And according to the police report, the only description offered by the 4 witnesses inside was a black male dressed in dark clothing who may live nearby.
I think what bothers me the most about this, and what would bother most people about this, is when people tell stories over and over again, they're supposed to remain consistent.
But the clerk's story didn't remain consistent. A few months after the robbery, the clerk saw a picture of Ramad Chatman on Facebook. She told police that was the man. In her testimony, she said, "It triggered something in me, and it just made me freak out."
Ramad turned himself in. Why? Because he did not want the police looking for him.
He felt he had nothing to hide.
Right.
Janice Chatman thought within hours her grandson would return home. 3 years later, she is still waiting.
He always said he was not guilty. He was very upset.
In court, the clerk testified she remembered the tattoo under his eye vividly, but she couldn't remember any of the other tattoos on his face or even neck, hands, and arms. According to court transcripts, each time she testified, she changed the description of the gun and his clothes.
He shouldn't be in prison. He should not be in prison.
Prison is full of people who claim to be innocent. But in this case, a jury actually agreed. At trial, Ramad Chatman was found not guilty of aggravated assault, not guilty of armed robbery, but he had more than a jury to convince. When Chatman was arrested for robbery, he was already on probation, sentenced as a first offender for breaking into an apartment to steal a TV. Chatman's grandmother says for 2 years he did everything asked of him to earn the right to have his conviction erased from his record.
He made sure that he did right on his probation. He never violated it.
But Judge John Niedrak disagreed. While the jury didn't find the clerk's testimony credible, he did. Well, a jury must convict beyond a reasonable doubt. A judge in a probation revocation hearing only has to be convinced it's likely. And now he's in prison until 2022.
In prison until 2022 after sitting through a jury trial and watching 12 members of his community tell him he did not commit that crime.
With his probation revoked, Chatman had to go to prison for the original crime. The felony conviction will follow him forever. It is a 10-year sentence for a $120 TV.
The
Rebecca
DA
Lindstrom, 11 Alive investigators.
The DA's office could have also withdrawn the request to have Chatman's probation revoked, but it felt the differences in the clerk's testimony, they were minor. Had he not been arrested for the robbery, Chatman would have finished his probation this July.
All right, so it's saying he would have been out of probation in July for a crime he committed a long time ago. And now he's saying they don't have to convince him, a jury. Now you got to convince the judge that it's not likely. He said, well, it was minor differences. And we can go through this all day because, of course, all the trolls going to come up and say, well, why are you race baiting? Why are you talking about race? Well, let's solve that right now. Don't say that shit unless you can come with documented evidence that this shit has ever happened to a goddamn white person where they've been found not guilty and still get sentenced. Because I can pull up case after case where white men have been found guilty and not sentenced, or their sentence isn't even a day in jail. Get this, a black man found not guilty doing more time than some white kids who assaulted and raped and stuck coat hangers up a mentally disabled child's ass in school while making them sing racist songs. Found guilty, and he does less time than someone, a black man, found not guilty. And, you know, you can keep saying that I don't see race and black people as the race thing all day. It doesn't matter what you say. Because at this point, I'm talking to my brothers and my sisters because we can obviously see what's going on here. They can call it race baiting or whatever, but until we get on the same goddamn page and start making moves, god damn it, we're going to keep talking about the same thing, having the same conversations over and over. Now, if y'all want to stay like this, that's one thing. But if we want to do something, here's another example of where if we had a judge and making sure our people go through our own systems as much as we can, this would lessen the opportunity for stuff like that. Not saying that we aren't under attack from these people, but at some point we got to defend ourselves. Right? Because we built things in the past. We keep saying, well, we haven't done anything. Black people can't do this. Black people can't do that. We've done all of the things that we say we need to do. We have done them in the past, and they were systematically attacked and destroyed. Why? Because we could not defend ourselves. And that is one of the first things that we got to start doing. And it feel like it's beating a dead horse, but the motherfucking horse is still alive. You got to keep beating the motherfucker. Because apparently we aren't getting it, and we keep banging our heads against the wall and expecting different results. It's insanity. We should not be surprised, and the fact that this could happen to any one of us at any time should give us what we need to be on the same page. And I want to say this too, because they will give you the impression that black people aren't on the same page as much as we are, because we really are. It's just simple things on the surface that keep us divided. Like simple things like just what we call ourselves, or maybe even religion. But it doesn't matter what we call ourselves, what our religion is, what we say, what we do. The results are the same. Over hundreds of years, we should know that shit by now. But the problem is, like I always say, we don't have each other's back. Like the Judge Olu Stevens, we should have had his fucking back. When he said, no, we're not going to have an all-white jury here. We're going to have a fair trial here. And they kicked his ass out. Here, we got a black man with a fair trial. When the people said not guilty, the judge said, well, the jury may have said, of his peers may have said, well, he's not guilty and the story doesn't add up. But it's close enough for me to put his ass in jail and give him a felony that's going to last with him for a lifetime. right? But you have a white kid who can rape a little fucking baby, and they feel sorry for him. A 23-year-old white male, not famous, not rich, none of that shit, who can rape a little kid, an 8-year-old boy, and the judge feels sorry for him. And all they have to do is sign up as sex offenders. And we can go into the war on drugs all day. We can go into the stop and frisk thing that they're going to try to get popping. These people are making a move, and we sitting here arguing with them over semantics. They know what the hell is going on because they're fucking doing it. But we just sitting here arguing over what we all know to be the fucking truth. No, we need to stop wasting our time doing that and start getting on the same page by educating ourselves, educating our children, by focusing on growing ourselves economically so we can build our own schools, so we don't have to support or depend on these people to support ourselves and to eat and feed our children, and to grow businesses where we can go get groceries if we need to, healthy food, all of that stuff. Or we can be in control of our own resources, where we are running our own districts, being district representatives, mayor, governor. Right? That stuff has a bigger impact than the president, because you're controlling your local laws and your local tax money. And who is in charge of the police in your area? And what goes on in the courts, and who has to be accountable for what? And at the end of the day, whatever we build, we have to be ready to defend it. Or else it's going to be this perpetual cycle that's going to take hundreds of years to get past. And that's even if we manage to heal ourselves. But, I want to hear what you got to say about this case. I've never heard of such abominations going on here. I've never heard of no case like this before, where a man is found innocent and still convicted. They still violate him on his probation, even though he ain't do nothing, got a job, all of that stuff. It didn't matter. But, I want to hear what you got to say. You can go to the forecast. Do you agree with this? Do you disagree with it? Are you fed up? What have you got to say?
No, you don't get justice in court. A black man can't get justice in court. A black man can't get justice in the court system of America. And I'm telling you, the only way you get justice is in the street. The only way you get justice is in the sidewalk. The only way you get justice is when you make justice for yourself. You never will get justice in the white man's court. No, not me. I never want him to take me to court. I saw what he did with my brothers. I see what he has done with them right here in New York City. So make sure you obey the law. Make sure you never commit a crime. Make sure you never deviate from the law. But any time one of them puts his hands on you, take him off the planet. Take him off the planet. Sir? Yes. They're going to have a funeral in Harlem. Make sure they have a funeral downtown, too. 2 funerals at the same time. We want peace. We want justice. We want respect. We want to carry ourselves with dignity. But we don't want to walk around here in a police state giving people the right to think that they can take our life or break our limb or bust our head. And that's all that's going to happen from it. So I'm telling you, don't you ever expect justice in America. No, I'll tell you that if the man locked me up in the morning, don't expect any justice. And when our brothers, Rikers Island, city prison, filled with Negroes.
Your Honor, I don't have any representations. I don't believe that this is a political matter. This is an issue about criminal justice. I believe the courtroom is the proper place to make issues about criminal justice. This is not political speech. It's not supporting a particular candidate. and it's not political speech. I don't believe that the DAs have been made to take off DA buttons. I don't believe that marshals have been made to stop wearing the black bands when there's been a death.
Wear it in the hallways, wear it in front of the courthouse, demonstrate, protest, use your voice, but that's not what's supposed to occur in a courtroom. When we're not here on a petition about a movement or a protest or anything like that, we're here to dispense justice on a criminal calendar of cases. And that's why I think it's inappropriate. And if other judges think it's okay to have that in the courtrooms, I respect that. That's their decision to make. But as I said, I think, you know what, that's not the purpose of coming into court. And I think Erica would admit, when we were talking this morning in chamber, she was saying, well, I think it is appropriate here because this is where there is disparate treatment of African Americans and harsher penalties on African Americans. I mean, that's, it's making it a political statement that I wear this in protest of how the court is treating minority defendants. And that's not what this is about.
I'd ask for my cases to be reassigned from you because I am not comfortable giving my case to someone else to handle, and I'm also not comfortable abridging my free speech rights.
I'm not going to recuse off my cases. Under the judicial canons, I've got an obligation to hear my cases. I don't have any conflict with you. I'm just asking you the same thing as I would ask somebody that's inappropriate to wear in court. You got to put something else on. Those clothing items are inappropriate, or you can't wear your hat in court. I mean, this is no different than those types of things. I'm just asking you to conform to the courtroom's decorum. It's not a conflict with you or your clients or anything. So no, I'm not going to recuse off cases that I'm obligated to hear to get assigned.
Tonight, 9 investigates the Ku Klux Klan, the notorious group associated with white supremacist views and violence against minorities.
Channel 9's Jeff Deal spoke with the man who oversees the Florida chapter of the Loyal White Knights of the KKK. He tracked its leader down after we noticed the hate group is ramping up its recruitment efforts in Central Florida.
Flaming crosses, flowing white robes, and hoods. These are the unmistakable symbols of the Ku Klux Klan. The KKK is the white supremacist group known for its extreme hate and acts of violence against black people in the last 2 centuries, including the 1951 murders of early civil rights leaders Harry and Harriet Moore in Mims.
I remember saying, I don't believe my daddy is dead.
Evangeline Moore was 21 years old. She was on a train from Washington, D.C. to visit her parents when on Christmas night a bomb went off in her parents' home.
They murdered my parents. And it was done because of hatred.
So what has happened to the Klan? In recent months, flyers started popping up across Central Florida, recruiting for the Loyal White Knights of the KKK. The flyers even showed up at the Harry T. Moore home site around the anniversary of the Moore murders.
What you've seen is just the tip of the iceberg right now.
The Grand Dragon, who oversees the Florida chapter, and a newer member dressed in the white hood agreed to sit down with us, faces covered.
Why do you want your face covered here?
Because I care about my job.
They claim to be part of an invisible empire.
We have police officers, paramedics, judges, you know, they're everywhere.
And they say they're 1,000 members strong and growing.
Charleston shooting suspect Dylan Storm Roof got a free meal from police on his way to jail. They went to Burger King. After about 16 hours on the run, the admitted mass murderer complained to cops arresting him in Shelby, North Carolina, that he was hungry, so police got him food from the nearby fast food joint, according to an account of his arrest in the Charlotte Observer.
He gets his Social Security every year indicating.
The earnings statement?
He gets his earnings statement.
Okay.
He gets it. He gets it every year. So she asked for it. Why didn't he provide it?
He doesn't have it.
He doesn't. He threw it away?
I would presume he did.
Oh, come on.
If you say he got it, Judge, I don't know.
Don't you get it?
No, I don't get it.
You don't
get it, Judge.
I get it.
I don't get it.
You get it? You get it? Everybody gets it.
Everybody gets it. I must be the one that doesn't get it.
Social Security sends it to your home.
They do.
Every year.
They sent it to my home 4 years ago. I haven't received it in the last 3.
Well, when did you become an illegal alien?
Judge.
It comes to you.
Judge, I am going to... That was a totally inappropriate comment.
I didn't mean it. I'm only... listen to me.
Alright, and we back on the forecast. We're talking about a young man out in Georgia who was found not guilty, but, still sentenced, and they say he violated his probation even though he didn't do nothing. A young man by the name of Ramad Chatman. Some crazy stuff. So you can continue that conversation. And I want to talk about this new bill that they are passing here in Virginia. And if you didn't know about it or didn't hear about it, legislation advanced out of the House of Education Committee on Monday that calls for teaching students taking driver education how to interact with police when pulled over. So they want to teach kids and drivers ed what to do when pulled over, which would have affected me just like 10 years ago when I started driving, when I had to take these classes. And the story says Gianna A. Ward, Democratic from Hampton, who is sponsoring the House bill, said the idea is to make sure students know exactly what they're supposed to do and how to interact with the police officers during a traffic stop. Being pulled over is one of the scariest things anyone faces, even as an adult, she says. The bill, which moved out of the committee on a 20-1 vote, requires that driver education programs at schools include instructions concerning traffic stops, including law enforcement procedures for traffic stops, appropriate actions to be taken by drivers during traffic stops, and appropriate interactions with law enforcement officers who initiate traffic stops. So she wants to make it blatantly clear what you're supposed to do, but what I guess she doesn't realize is even when you're doing what the hell they want you to do, it still could be a fucking problem. We can just look at the Philando Castillo case, right? And also, you don't have to train them how to pull over white kids, because the only time you really see some shit going down with them is if they actually reaching or getting into shootout with the cops, and even then they try to shoot the gun out of his hand first. Right? You don't have to teach them that shit. In the case where a black cop is on the hook anyway for shooting into a cop killing a 6-year-old white boy, the black cop got 40 years. Right? But incident after incident where a white cop shoots into a car full of black kids, kills one, shoots him in the head, 15-year-old. It's a whole different standard. And now you want to teach kids when they get pulled over what to do, how to follow the instructions. Now, if you was teaching them their rights, that's one thing. I'll be all for it. Teaching them their rights in the traffic stop, that's one thing. Teaching them their rights as a citizen in whatever state they're in, that's one thing. I got your back on that. But my guess is that's not what she's saying. She's saying how to comply with the officers and wave away your rights, basically. And, they say they follow the Constitution, but they really never respected our rights in the first place. So all of that shit could just go out of the window any fucking time, and it's justified. And they will still be saying the same goddamn thing. Right? Just recently with the shooting, it was a shooting in my city, in Richmond, Virginia, where a cop killed a black man. Now, a lot going on with that case, so I don't even want to talk about it because it seemed like he put himself in that situation. But at the same time, the cop is supposed to be wearing body cameras. We get all of this stuff taken out for our taxes, and they're going to put it into body cameras, but they magically don't have body cameras on when stuff goes down. And she said the bill is meant to help students learn what they're supposed to do and not do as well. as well as what officers should expect. Plus, she said there's a lot of misinformation about how to handle things when getting pulled over. But the point is, it ain't really shit we can fucking do but start policing ourselves. And when we get pulled over, first we do have to know our rights. Where we live in the information age, while we can still use the internet, I suggest we go do that and learn about all the laws, especially your local laws, what you have the rights to do. Now, again, as a black person, your rights can be taken away, so keep that in mind. But always film yourself if anything should happen. Right? You film it yourself. And make sure we get the video out there, the message out there, whatever. So we can see what's going on with each other. And become cops instead of talking shit about the cops. Let's just be our own fucking cops. Because obviously it's no convincing these people. We're wasting our time and our energy and our breath, which we could be applying to ourselves. And if we were cops patrolling our own neighborhoods, we would have a better say. We would have more opportunities to protect ourselves. If we became judges, lawyers, all of that stuff. Which would make the rest of it more easy to fall in line. Where we can get on the same goddamn page. Now, you know, we have paid professionals who we pay the salaries ourselves. Instead of teaching them and training them to do better, we have to train children. Because obviously, children have a better capacity to be trained than professional cops, I guess. But all of that stuff is just excuses. All of this stuff is meant to keep us in our place and just tell us, well, you know, just show them your freedom papers. You know, keep your eyes to the ground. Never make eye contact with a white man in the eyes. Never look at a white woman. Don't whistle at no white woman. Or we're gonna fucking tie you up to 2 horses and pull you apart type shit. Right? They just not as brutal in your face today as they used to be. Now it's just more subtle. They try to be intellectual with it. They think they're being intellectually superior. When actuality is either intellectually dishonest or just plain old dishonest. I don't understand where this moral superiority comes from, where they feel like they have the verdict or the right to say what is right and what is wrong. And the way to do things and the way not to do things. And the truth is, that only comes from the ability to have power to stand behind what you say. And as much as we beg, plead, sing, dance, you know, whatever we try to do, it doesn't matter until we have power backing our shit. They not gonna put no respect on our name. We gotta put the respect on it by putting fear behind it. By putting power behind it. You look at America, anytime anything happens, America shut that shit down with the quickness and blow up whole countries. Right? America drop a nuclear bomb on your ass. But then sit there and tell everybody, well, don't be violent, you fucking terrorist. And we sitting here listening to their ass. Telling us just to be docile and put up with it. But, you know, the younger generation, the generation of millennials on down, we aren't really putting up with that shit no more. We are getting sick and tired of it. And we damn sure ain't regressing and going backwards. It's over for that shit. But the point is, we have to have the economics to back us, because we wouldn't survive if they take away food from you. Do any of you niggas know how to fucking plant and grow your own food? right? We need to start developing all that shit, getting on the same wavelength, understanding our history, because we had our own thriving economy. Back in the 20s, the early 1900s, we had black millionaires all over the place because we had to spend the money within our own communities. They wouldn't let us spend our money in the white places. It was whites only. No fucking niggas. So what did we do? Spend the money with each other. And what did that do? Create successful communities. Create wealth. They were able to build schools. They were able to give each other jobs. They were the least single parents. We had the strongest family structure in the early 1900s after slavery. But they attacked that. They blew up Black Wall Street. They blew up Rosewood, Florida, which had successful black businesses, successful black people. And they destroyed it. And they built highways through other towns. But the point is, was segregation really a bad thing? Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't not shop at white stores or whatever. Whoever has the best product, you should get it. But you definitely need to support black businesses, because that's the thing that's going to create wealth in our communities. And we definitely need to get over this whole divide and conquer thing. Right? They use terminology like minority. But what the hell does that mean? When you call white women a minority, when they're actually the majority in this country and the majority voter block, there are more eligible white women to vote than anybody, yet they are the minority. Yet we let this term divide us in so many aspects, not only with the gender aspect, but just with nationalities and cultures. Because we seem to think Hispanic is a race or something. Hispanic ain't a race, it's a culture. There are black Hispanics and there are white Hispanics. You know, the comedian Louis C.K., white man, red hair, all of that. Dude is Mexican. But he's white. These places have just as much racism as we have it. You know, people with the darker skin tend to get treated the worst in those countries. Even just looking at Africa, how they're being extorted. They're being sucked dry to the point where it's destroying the planet. If we were on the same page, especially starting here with American black people, and we're able to link up with, you know, our people in Haiti and help them and let them help us, and link up with our people in Africa and help each other, maybe we can start getting on the world stage and having a say about how we're treated, about having strength behind what we say. You know, there are short-term steps and there are long-term steps. And at the end of the day, we want to get to a place where we have destroyed the white infrastructure of the world, where we are back in control of ourselves, of our own natural resources, and where we have a say in the world. And not that all black people need to leave America and go back to Africa, but the point is, if you want to stay in America and live in goddamn Idaho, as long as you obeying the laws like everybody else in Idaho, they can't do some extra foul shit to you because you got a nation backing you up now. And that's the shit that we need to build. And if we don't have that, we don't have anything. We're going to be in the same boat forever. So while we're arguing over what we call ourselves, we shouldn't call ourselves black. We should follow this religion. We should do this. We should do that. Oh, I'm not black, I'm Dominican. As long as we have that attitude, then it's very easy to conquer. Divide and conquer is a simple technique, but it works so fucking good. So, what are we going to continue to do? Ask them what's appropriate, what we are allowed to do. Walk around with our tap dancing shoes on, our face painted up, saying yes, yes, boss, yes, master, forever. Or are we going to start getting on the same goddamn page and doing the stuff that we need to do? And it can't be one person, because they can just take out one person on top of that. But it has to be the whole community. We all got to be doing our part. People love to look at rich people saying, well, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Well, nigga, why aren't you? Because we all could be contributing, especially with this whole economic plan where we hire or elect qualified businessmen who generate successful black businesses and all contribute to this fund. And by the way, always make sure that this fund is transparent. They tell you what they're going to do and they actually do it. And if they're not transparent and if it's funny business, stop sending your money, period. We can all get together and do stuff like this now, or we can go complain. Then when something happens, go march for a couple days, sit back down, wait for the next incident, keep going over and over and over, saying, when are you going to stop doing this? No, they're saying, when are you going to stop complaining about it, because we tired of hearing it. And they're right, fuck it. When are you going to stop complaining about it? I'm tired of going through it. I'm trying to live my life. I'm trying to protect myself and my family and my people. So, the ball is in our court. We got to make the move. We all we got. There is no tribe, my friend. But, I want to hear what you got to say. Have you seen these new laws they're trying to do? It probably sure is going to start going everywhere, because each state has some kind of funny style bill coming up that's passing right on through. So, I want to hear what you got to say about it. If you want to shout out black businesses, I want to hear that too.
A new bill signed into law this month will add an important new unit to driver's education here in Virginia. Signed into law by Governor McAuliffe just this month, it'll require schools to teach teen drivers how to act and what to do when they're pulled over by police.
They don't really know what to do, and so this is actually sort of a nervous interaction. People are unhappy for being stopped. Officers are concerned for their safety, and so this will go through the things you're supposed to do in a stop.
The lessons focus on reducing confrontation with an officer and avoiding situations that can escalate. It's funny, you'd think there would be some kind of traffic stop training. It is one of the most stressful situations you have when you're behind the wheel.
And that's really not just for teenagers, of course, something for adults to keep in mind as well. When we are pulled over, not that that ever happens to the two of us, but we all need to be aware and keep that in mind.
And to remember that police are often uncomfortable pulling
right.
someone over, so try to keep things cool across the board.
Sound like money. This sound like money. It sound like money. Sound like money. Yo, this sound like 50s. This sound like honeys. I smell like dro, cause this sound like money. Haters gon' hate, but this sound like coming. Nigga don't talk less it sound like money. Now what this sound like? Sound like money. What it sound like? It sound like money. What this sound like? Sound like money. What it sound like? It sound like money. Yo, it sound like them umbrella niggas on the grind. Yo, you gotta pay a fee if you niggas want my time. Hey, I'm a pimp to these hoes. You a pimp in your mind. Get your money, get respect, and the bitches fall in line. Everybody wanna shine. These niggas stuntin' hard. Showing off for these bras till a nigga pull your card. These niggas want these hoes. These hoes want the stars. Real niggas like myself be exposing all the frauds. I'm staying on my job. You living in facade. If you think you can see me, then you seeing a mirage. It ain't real. Bell and Shanny Love. What's good with a Minaj? Got a swag of my own. I ain't had to come from Mars. We count up 50s. We count up hundreds. Every time that we talk, man, it sound like money. You can love it, you can hate it, but it's gon' keep coming. Come on, let's get to these dollars while we all get blown. plenty. Yo, this sound like 50s, this sound like honey. I smell like dro, cause we just got blunted. Haters gon' hate, but the bitches keep coming. Nigga don't talk, that's a sound like money. Now what this sound like? Sound like money. What it sound like? It sound like money. What this sound like? Sound like money. What it sound like? It sound like money.
Look, yeah, the money go ching-a-ling, but my glow got them bitches on the ding-a-ling. She all in my ear, whispering the freaky things. Told her don't kiss me, kiss the pinky ring. I'm a dawn in my own right. Heard a nigga stunting on the fam, now we on sight. Type of nigga that'll catch a fade, rockin' all white. If you stayin' humble, getting money, then we alright. That's the kind of G's that I fucks with. Thoroughbred niggas that'll never suck dick. Ew. It's a whole lot of paper that I must get. So I'm riding around my city doing front flips. Now stay with me, spins in New York trying to make the state dizzy. When I hit the top, I'ma take VA with on folk, nigga. You know I put it down, right? Now tell me what it sound like.
This sound like 50s, this sound like honeys. I smell like dro, cause we just got blunted. Haters gon' hate, but the bitches keep coming. Nigga don't talk, less it sound like money. Now what this sound like? Sound like money. What it sound like? It sound like money. What this sound like? Sound like money. What it sound like? It sound like money. Yeah.
Alright, and we back on the forecast, and we had a young man found not guilty in a trial by the name of Ramad Chatman. He was found not guilty, but still was sent to jail for violating probation when the man really didn't do shit, turned himself in and all that. So you can continue that conversation, and also about this bill they're trying to pass, or they have passed, about teaching kids how to interact with the police, but not really teaching the police shit. So you can continue that conversation. And shout out black businesses, all of that stuff over on the forecast. And as always, man, we have got to start standing for something, or we're going to keep falling for anything.